Hello, America. AJ here. I wanted to touch upon the a little bit more about Pastor Wright's speech. Uh, there's some things that I think people need to be aware of. It's not surprising to me that there are some black people out there who are saying that Pastor Wright's comments were wrong, were shameful, were pathetic, were ignorant, and a host of other adjectives that they will use to describe what he said. However, I am here to tell you that, uh, Jesus, when he went to the cross, was turned in by his own folks. uh, Pontius Pilate wanted to let him go, but he left it up to the Sanhedrin. Now, many of you who are biblical folks and Christians kind of know the stories, and some of you who are Christians and biblical folks may not know this story. But the bottom line is that Pilate wanted to let Jesus go. He let it be decided by his folks, the Sanhedrin, and they elected to let a murderer go rather than let Jesus go. Now, just for the record, it sounds a little bit like what's going on today, because the United States has been on a rampage. Whether you like it or not, what Pastor Wright said was correct. America's gone all over the world, bombing people, killing people, invading countries, etc. Let me ask you a question. If we're just really into that, if we're just so tough, how come we haven't done it to North Korea? Because they're not going to stand for it. How come we haven't really gone into Iran? Because they have too many allies that aren't going to stand for it. Russia is doing all kinds of crazy things. Why haven't we done something to them? Because they're going to give us trouble. What we've been are world bullies. This is something that Americans need to come to terms with. And as horrible as 9/11 was, I challenge anyone, any of you out there, if I choose to come into your house and tell you what to do with your house, and if I come in and I threaten you or harm somebody in your house, what are you going to do? You're going to retaliate. And you would say it was an American thing to do. Yet when we do it to other countries and they retaliate, all of a sudden they're terrorists. What about our terrorism? And once again, I'll introduce this one more time. Did our government have anything to do with 9/11? Many of you are going to think that that's ridiculous. But you know what? That is, again, some of the ignorance that lives out there. For how many of you know about the Tuskegee experiment or the King Alfred plan? Let me just touch very quickly on the Tuskegee experiment because it really is relatively recent. So is the Prince Alfred plan. But in the Tuskegee experiment, the government used black people to test out the effects of long-term syphilis. They thought through their morbidity, and look up the word if you don't know what it is, they thought through their morbidity that these folks would die if they had long-term syphilis. But you know what? They were wrong. It gave us great information for today. But the thing is that only about 25% of them died. The other 25% had some problems or so, but 50% of them did okay. That is the morbidity of syphilis, but they did that on black people in Alabama, Tuskegee. So, again, when you start talking about how the things that black people might say, black people have been through more things even then, than most of the minorities in this country. I can't say we've been through more than the Native Americans because, white folks just came and took their land. But other than that, we've been through a lot. And even though the white folks took their land, they've given them many, many concessions. When black people have tried to ask for concessions on their tax forms and stuff, we're actually threatened by the IRS. More food for thought. I'm AJ. We're out.